You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Meghan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey vet rehabbers, I speak today to Meghan Brady about the importance of finding a niche. Now, this topic comes up a lot in the vet rehabbers groups, and one often thinks it's better to cast a wider net, but in fact it's far more beneficial to hone in on a niche and be known for that niche. We're going to dive into the details of this today in this podcast. Before we head over to that interview, a quick word from our sponsor. At Paw Prosper, we believe true pet well-being demands a three-pronged approach: prevention, support, and rehabilitation. Our brands are trusted by veterinarians, universities, and rehab facilities alike. Whether you're looking to train, rehabilitate, or help your pet age gracefully, our brands like the Help 'em Up Harness, Fit Paws, Muffin's Halo, and Response Systems offer effective, innovative, and proven solutions. Learn more about how Paw Prosper can help your pet age gracefully today at pawprosper.com. Now, if you have your own practice, I've just updated this PDF download. It was 12 free ways, and I've updated it to 20 free ways to market your vet rehab practice. Online Pet Health members, you can log into the members portal and go to the resources download area. If you are not a member, you can download it by going to onlinepethealth.com/free ways, and you can get your copy now. So over to my chat about niches with Meghan. Hey Meghan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on.
Meghan, I'm so excited to chat about this topic. It's a topic that I've been discussing lots in our business vet rehabbers group. But before we chat about finding your niche, can you tell the listeners about yourself and how you got into the field?
Sure. So I graduated with a psychology degree, and I grew up with horses all my life and really got into doing right after college therapeutic riding instructor, and that kind of evolved into doing equine body work because I was really seeing influence of just how the riders were really affecting the horse's movement and just general overall health and performance. And so I went back to school, and I got my physical therapy and massage license. So then through that, I built a big business over there around that. So was traveling all throughout the United States and also internationally. And over time, a lot of people who were wanting to get into the field were coming to me for advice about how to get started. And so that's how my business coaching really took off. It was about 6 years ago that I started doing it, and it kind of just, developed over time. And so here I am.
Yeah, so I mean, supporting therapists in business is something that I'm also very passionate about. And you'll know from all the people that you help that a lot of us are in this field because we have a passion for helping animals. And a lot of the courses and studies that we do, whether it be through universities, wherever we've studied, they don't often have a business section, right? So we actually don't learn the business skills that we need in order to be able to run a successful business. So for a lot of us, and I can definitely speak for myself, I just learned the hard way, so paid all the school fees, did all the wrong things. And, for me, I really try and share all that as much as I can with vet rehabbers so that they don't make the same mistakes that I do. But it's one of those things where, business is actually so important because, without business skills or having some direction or idea of where your business is going, you can end up actually, like I've seen so many vet rehabbers just leaving the field to say, I can't do it anymore. And they close their practices and they go into something different. And that really, really breaks my heart. So we need more people like you that are out there helping our vet rehabbers to grow successful businesses.
Yes. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. Exactly. That's what happened with me. I graduated, and then I'm like, okay, now what? How do I create a business? And like you, I did a lot of things wrong and learned how to do it over the years. And I have hired myself some business coaches along the way, but at the time, none of them were really equine focused or animal focused. And so it is different on how you build a business in this field. So I'm I'm really passionate about it because, like you, I see so many people that just get frustrated about not being able to make money, and they go into this wanting to help, but they don't have the business mindset or the tools to actually be successful and to make a living doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've also had a few business coaches, and they can help with certain things, but I feel like there's always this lack of understanding of our profession. And I think that also a lot of us are led by our hearts, right? So sometimes we actually need somebody who can understand that, but still give us the right advice to make the right decisions
Right.
for our business.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we're going to be chatting today about finding a niche. And this conversation comes up often, and it's a hard one because I think that a lot of vet rehabbers, they just think like, we just want to help everyone, all different animals. So I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think it's so important to find a niche to work in?
So the first thing I always say to people is, and I know this is a hard concept for people, including myself, we can't help everyone, right? We can't. There's not enough time in the world for us to do everything. So if we could do the one thing that we're really passionate about well within this industry, then we are actually contributing the best we possibly can. And so, I people struggle with this, finding your niche within such a kind of a niche market. But if you can really take a step back and kind of think about why you got into it, maybe it was a certain case, maybe it's your background, maybe it was your own animal, and kind of look at what the why was, and that sometimes helps people. Also, I always say to people, don't be afraid that your niche will change over time. What my niche was when I first started my business and what it is now is two totally different things, because it evolves as you grow professionally and personally and in your business. And what I wanted in my 20s is a lot different than what I wanted in my 40s now. So I think it's really important, and I think it's really important that you must be intentionally really self-aware, understand what you really want in your business, and then the success comes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
And as you build your clientele and direct, what you want and the people that you want in your life, and then the marketing comes along with that.
yeah, that's the thing, you see, like the marketing is a tricky thing when you are trying to like put marketing out there that is marketing to everyone, because then you're marketing to no one, right?
No one, right?
So when you choose that niche, it definitely helps with the marketing because you can really understand who your audience is. So like if you know like exactly what your niche is, then you know that exact person. You can even think about a client and say, right, this is my audience, and you can speak to them as if they read your marketing, they read all your copy, and they go, oh my gosh, she like completely understands me, this is my person, this is who I have to work with my horse or my dog or whatever. And that's really the benefits of really like getting your niche and really honing down on your niche. But it is tricky because I think that a lot of the vet rehabbers think if they niche down, and they have a really specific niche, are they going to have enough clients? So let's say they choose, for example, let's say there's a small animal vet rehabber and they decide, I'm just going to treat hip dysplasia cases, for example. It doesn't necessarily mean they just have to treat that. It just means that that's what they're going to be known for. So if a cruciate, then they can still treat it. It's just that that's what you're known for, right? So it makes it so much easier. And I always say to vet rehabbers, say for example, like you're really good at cruciates and somebody else is really good at hip dysplasia cases, and then you get a client and it's a tricky hip dysplasia case. You might even say, actually, I'm just going to refer that to my colleague. This is her thing. And then she refers her cruciate cases to you. Have you found that too?
Yes, I mean, and that's where I think as colleagues and professionals, we can really work together. And I always say you want to be an expert in your niche. That's what will set you apart. Be an expert around that one thing. Not that you can't do others, But like you just said, that's how you build a referral base with your clients and or with your clients and other colleagues. I think so much of us, unfortunately, when we look at like, oh, we want all the business, then that referral from colleague to colleague goes away. And this is where we really need to access one another and use each other to help build our businesses because the business is there. This is not a scarcity. There's tons of animals out there that need help. It's not about that.
Yeah, I think also when you have a niche that you're known as an expert for, you have the ability to be able to charge more for that, you know. If you think about, let's just take the medical profession, for example. If you had a skin problem, let's say you had a lump on your skin and you went to a GP or you went to a dermatologist, you would expect to pay more for the dermatologist because the dermatologist is a
Absolutely.
specialist. And that's expected. So clients, if you specialize in something and that's your speciality, you can charge for that too. So maybe you might not be seeing as many cases. So you don't have to. You can see less cases, be a whole lot better at what you do, and charge a little bit more.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's a really hard concept when people are starting out, especially. Yeah. And
And
two, like it's important for to have the education around your specialty too, and not just willy-nilly choose something.
yeah, and I also think if you have that niche, you can also really hone down on your education because you will read every single research article about that niche, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
when there's a lecture that needs to be done on that niche, you're doing it, right? They're going to call you because you're the expert. And so professionally, it just helps you. It like you say, it like sets you apart from everyone else because it gives you something to differentiate yourself when you have that niche. So how do we go from, all right, so like the listeners now know like it's important. So how do they
Right.
make the change now? Because like here they are and they're treating everyone. What do
Mm-hmm.
you have like a step? And I know you've got an online course about this, and we'll share your website later. You've got a few online courses, and one of them was Find Your Niche. And I noticed that you had 5 steps to finding your niche. Can you help us just talk us through? So here you are now having no niche, just treating everything. What are the steps we
Yep.
take to like form our practice from one that's just general GP, vet rehabber, or massage therapist to actually
Yep.
more specific?
So I think so I have these 5 steps, and one of them is to identify what you're really interested in and passionate about in the field. And because if you're not, then you're not going to want to learn more, be an expert in that. So like, what is something that is really, gets your juices flowing? What are you really passionate about? Like, what's your cause? What do you look forward doing every day? Like, what type of clientele do you like to work with? And I always say, like, if people are struggling with this concept, what is it that you like learning about the most within the field? Because sometimes that will help. If you just are like, I really like this one thing, performance animals or agility or, a specific injury or whatever, go to that direction because you want to be passionate about this one thing. And two, what problems do you end up solving for people within the industry? What do people like naturally just kind of come to you for? Because sometimes when people are, can be hard. This can be a hard exercise for people to walk through. And so if you start asking yourself these questions, it can help you really kind of reflect on like, yeah, what do I actually like to do in this field, and what type of people and animals do I like to work with? And number 3 is research your competition as well. Competition is not bad at all because if it's there, then there's business there, right? So I always think, a lot of people say, well, this person's also doing it. And I'm like, that's okay. That's okay. There's more dermatologists. There's other people that do this. It's okay. And then if people are really like, I don't know, Megan, like this seems like it's a really, narrow niche, then start talking to people and see if it is profitable, for you in that area. Because if you are too niche, that can become a problem. Like, I am only going to work with this breed of dog who has this problem. That's a little bit too specific. And then, I always say, like, play with it, test your theory when you're going out there in the field, especially when you're just starting this. Is this the type of clientele that you really want? Is this, I have a woman that I coach, and she's really passionate about working with aggressive dogs. That's what she loves to do.
That's a
Great.
great niche because nobody else wants that
But
one.
nobody wants to do it, right? But she has an ability and a passion for it. And I think that is an amazing niche, because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would refer all my aggressive dogs to her.
Right. And so it could just be something that simple in a
Yeah.
way. Um, and then I also tell people, like, to start thinking about some things, like, you know, what are you really passionate about talking about? Like, when someone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" and like, where do you gravitate? And what are your skills at the end of the day? What are you really good at? Like, this woman is really good at working with aggressive dogs. That is a huge highlight for her. She's really good at it. And what do people, I would say, like, what do people come for you for advice for at the end of the day? Whether it could be friends and family within this. So I know I got off my top five, but I think too, when you start questioning, like, okay, start taking a step back. What do I really like about this field? What clientele do I really like working with, both from an animal and human standpoint? And that helps people find their niche. And also too, what is your why? Why did you get into it? Because that also helps as well.
Yeah. So let's just go through those five. So the first one was, what are you interested or passionate about?
Yep.
2, what problems do you end up solving in the industry? 3 was
Yep.
research your competition.
Yep.
4 was test your ideas.
Yep. 4 was determine, like, if it's profitable. And then 5 was test your idea. Yep. And what I mean by the profitable is make sure that it's not, like I said, super narrow, where you're like, I'm only going to work with black dogs that are Labradors that have hip dysplasia. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds, you can't go that niche.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, don't choose a niche where the people can't afford to be able to get your services. Like, so you could say, I'm only going to treat dogs at rescue centers. That's not going to work, right? So you have to a niche that is, the people are going to be able to afford your services, right? To as hard as that is, and as passionate as you might be about rescues. Yeah, great. I love those 5 points. I think that the niche thing is something that you got to just try. And like you say, it can evolve over time. So you might find, like, you're interested in something, and then one topic, and then you start to see another type of case, and then you start to realize, wow, I'm actually really good at these. And you start getting great feedback about these cases. You start learning more about them. And sometimes you just get known for something which you weren't really intending to be known for. So
exactly.
I had that in my practice. So I was known as the vet, that treated paralyzed dogs. So if there was a paralyzed dog, just send it to Meghan Kelly. That was it. And it really wasn't, I didn't choose it. I didn't say, oh, that's what I'm going to be, known for, but I was. And I had great success with them. And I think for me, it was a very rewarding case to have, right? Because the dog came to you, and, the owners were about to put it to sleep. And so those type of case, like, you can only help, right? So you just do everything you can. And, a lot of the time I was successful. I'm not maybe always getting them to walk 100% normally, but maybe spinal walking, and they were mobile, and they got to have a quality of life. So Yeah, so sometimes you just fall into your niche without really even knowing it. One of the things that I think about when I mentor vet rehabbers to try and get them to work out what niche they could potentially go in is what could you speak about without having to do any research? So for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, if somebody had to say, can you just get up and speak about hip dysplasia or whatever it may be? And that potentially is your niche. It's something that you have a lot of knowledge about that you don't need to sit and research about.
Exactly. And I always say to people, when you really have, it takes a lot of courage, I even say, to find your niche. But what that actually ends up doing naturally is, like you just said, it brings you your clientele that you really enjoy working with. It just happens.
Because that's important. Because,
Oh, that's so important.
Working with animals, we obviously want to be able to get along with the people, right? Sometimes we have people that are tricky to work with. And
Yes.
if we put it out there, this is my niche, this is the type of person that I want to work with, and I think especially in the niche, I think this might be more true in the equine world than in the small animal world. I think, if I think about the small animal world, and maybe you can give some examples in the equine world, and the small animal world, for example, you might choose you want to work with agility people. You might choose you don't want to work with agility and you want to do something different. So all those little groups of pet owners, they have their own nuances and their own way of doing things, and some might align with you in some way. What are some examples in the equine world?
Oh, definitely different disciplines, from dressage to hunters to jumpers to endurance riders to eventers. You really see that. And like you, I kind of fell into, when I started working in this field, I, was really focused on the therapeutic riding horses because that's where I was, and that's where, I saw the need, and it developed naturally. And I couldn't even tell you like how, although I am a dressage rider. But even at the time, I wasn't really riding that much because I was building my business. And then I just fell into the dressage performance horse. Like, it just kind of evolved into that. And I got very passionate about it. And again, not that I don't take on other disciplines ever, but that is 90% of my business. And you can really see, for myself, and even, the people that I work with, they want to focus on, maybe it's a sport that they already do too. So they already have knowledge of it in a very specific and integrative way, so they can talk about it very naturally. I coach one woman that she barrel races, so guess what? Her niche is, she just focuses on that because she's very passionate about it. And so it can be something just that simple. Is picking a discipline. It doesn't need, or I always say, or maybe you're really passionate about a certain modality that you really, I really like doing fascial release, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So I was thinking now as you were chatting about, the dressage performance horse, and I think this is maybe more in the equine world than it is also in the small animal world. But if you think about horse owners, right? If they're going to refer another horse rider or, owner to you, they want to know, horse owners want to know that you like work with that specific case. Like if you like do a little bit of everything, then they're like, no, but my horse has got a very specific problem. Like I need a specific person. And I think it's because if you think about it in the equine world, there are specific people for everything, right? There's a farrier for the feet. There's the dentist for whereas with small animals, the GP vet does virtually everything, right? But it's not like that in the equine world, and the equine horse owners basically are so used to having that whole team of people looking after their horse. Whether it be the chiropractor, the massage therapist, the vet, the dentist, the farrier, they've got this whole team. And so they're used to that. So if you have to come along and you're like, I do everything, like I treat all cases, then, they're going to be like, no, everyone has their specific place,
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
and even within the vets. So like, we just bought a pony now. And, I was chatting to the lady that I'm stabling with, and she was saying like, what vet are you going to use? And obviously being a vet myself, I've got all my friends that are vets in the area. And so I've got a
Right.
colleague of mine. I was like, this is my vet. This is who we're going to use. And she was like, yeah, she's good for colics and for this. But if we're going to
Oh,
have
yeah, absolutely.
if we're going to have lamenesses and stuff, we're going to call this person, okay? And then if there's anything like a stitch up or something, I'm going to call that guy vets, okay? So, and she had, even within the vets, they had their niches,
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
vets,
yeah, absolutely.
before used to be everything. And these
Mm-hmm.
vets, I mean, unknowing to me, in my mind, I was going to have my one friend, who was going to come and treat my
Yeah.
post. And I must actually chat to her about it and say, listen, do you know that this is what you're known for, the colics? That's a bad one to be known for, because that's all the after hour work. But yeah, so even within a vet, they've got their niches, and how they got into it is probably just because that's what they were interested in. Whenever
Yeah.
at
Oh,
the
yeah.
practice there was one, they'll be like, I'll take it, I'll do that, and just became known for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I know for our own horses, I have my own horse. We have a farm up in Virginia, and we have a sports animal vet. We have a general, you know, for general practitioner that does, their shots every year, and their Coggins and all that stuff. Then we also have a different vet for, the breeding. If we have a mare that needs to be foaled out, that's a different vet, because they all specialize in something. And
Yeah.
like you said, pollock goes here, sutures go there, so it happens in all the industries, especially in the horse world for sure. And even with the farriers, you see that, I would say.
Yeah.
You do have definitely farriers that work on dressage horses only, and jumpers, because it's different. They need
Yeah.
different things.
Yeah.
And you can't be an expert in everything.
No, as much as we want to be, we can't.
Yeah, you can't. There's not enough time, brain power, all the things that, yeah.
Yeah. Megan, it's been so great chatting to you about this topic, and thank you for sharing your top 5 things. I'm going to go through them again for those of you that are interested.
Yeah.
So what are you interested or passionate about? What problems do you end up solving in the industry? Research your competition. Number 4 is determine if it's profitable. And number 5 is to test your ideas. So thank you, Megan, so much for that. So Megan, you obviously do this coaching. You've got a whole lot of things going on. Tell us about your mentorship groups. You've got some mentorship groups which are online, which are there to help specifically, I think, massage therapists and equine, but there are some small animal people in there too.
Yeah. So it's called the Strides Mentorship Group, and it is a Facebook group, and we're very active, and there are people from kind of all kind of walks of life. There's people even still going through school and just wanting to get the support and accountability. So every Monday we talk about our goals. Every Friday we say how that happened. I do live trainings in there once a month, everything from finding your niche to, getting new clientele to retaining clientele. We just did one on, because it's tax season here, so getting good accountants and, things like that. But it's just about helping each other with strategies, building that team through collaboration, taking responsibility and accountability through your actions, because I think a lot of us, we get overwhelmed with how much we want to do, and we really should break it down and to make it achievable little goals. And just to have that that time to be like, yeah, what are my goals for this week and my intentions? And I offer people to come in and do trainings on other subjects that I clearly am not an expert on. Social media, what people want to learn about that, things like that. So that's the group.
Awesome. So where can people find you?
So people can find me, they can go to meghanbrady.us. And within that, under the services, they can click on the Strides Mentorship Program and sign up.
Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely chatting.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Paul Prosper. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free. Please go and check them out. You can go to paulprosper.com. Don't forget to bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit. It's on Friday the 10th and Saturday the 11th of November. Come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference. It's created specifically for you, the vet rehabber community. Onlinepethealth members, you get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information and continued education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.